And don't forget to give me my hot pepper sandwich before you leave.
Yeah, right. Well, they're in there.
We were going to make some, but Joe said there's so many people coming, we're not going to be able to make that many sandwiches.
I did them in a hurry last minute. I thought that they were cooking out, but I tasted them and they were a little, not real hot, but they had a
little tang to it.
So I had to get another pepper and make some
For you.
Well,
Good for you.
Cuban O's are kind of usually used for. Hey, Chico.
Mamma mia, quanta gente si vede oggi, mannaggia.
Hey, how you doing, Ray?
See you. God bless.
Hello, Chico. If you can't get up to these chairs, they have an elevator that you can come in from the top. So, these are... If they don't take some of these in the front, you can sit right there. Because the first 3 rows are reserved for bean picking people.
Well, I'm not a bean picker.
Yeah, well, your sister-in-law was. If nobody sits there, sit where this.
Seats right up there.
That's Nick Carbona there.
God, he hasn't changed, huh?
His brother John just passed away recently.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. There's Scooch Farrow in back there.
Who was that guy?
Right here, Carmen Bibiano.
Carmen?
Carmen. He had Bibiano's market.
Him and Port Watson.
Yeah, his brother John had it first.
Johnny had it first.
Right. Hello.
Linda, right here, there's spots. What? I see Linda. My father's over there.
Hello, how are you?
Right here. Spots, and they stick together. Oh, my husband. You can This is the other one.
Hello, Mr. Nichols.
Oh, yeah.
Good, you?
Good. Are you a bean picker?
I was.
Were you really?
Sure.
My sister went one time with Ginger Dillingham.
Oh, yeah.
They went one time to do it.
Well, there are people here that did the same thing.
Yeah, they were
Some of
in
them
high
got
school.
fired on the first day.
All right, I better find a seat.
Now I'm trying to get a video of her, Chris.
Welcome. It's so wonderful to see all of you here. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes before turning it over to Karen. First, there are a lot of folks to thank, and the first one on the list is Cindy Stoker here, who's our tech person today, but she is everything. Cindy oversees the whole center, and she has helped with every aspect of putting this event and all other events on. So thank you, Cindy. We love you.
You know where to find me.
We will come and get you. And I want to thank also our volunteers, and we always welcome new volunteers. If any of you like what you see here today and you want to volunteer, lots of different things you could do. We have a number of volunteers here today, people who helped us with setup, people who will help with cleanup, of course the guides in the museums, Greg's up there, and there's a whole bunch of other folks around here to assist. So thanks to all the volunteers of the center who we couldn't live without. I want to make sure you all know that after the presentation and discussion, we have refreshments in the cafeteria, and all are invited to have some cookies and beverages and cheese and crackers. And then I know that the bean picker group will be staying a bit later and having some additional cuisine and conversation together. We also certainly invite you to tour the Homeville Museum, which is the museum, if you go out this door to the right. And I just want to flag a couple of things. If you've been here before, we have a lot of new exhibits, so please take a second look. If you haven't been here before, I think you might really enjoy what you see. We have an extensive military collection, railroad history and model train collection, and we've really been expanding our local history collection. In fact, we have a brand new exhibit on the Tucci Bakery and Bottling Works. Some of you know that the Tucci family is going to be here today as well, so that's one of our newest exhibits. Another brand new exhibit is an exhibit on the famous baseball player, John J. McGraw. So I would invite you to take a look at that. And these exhibits have physical components as well as touch screens. So we've been adding touch screens, and if you need any assistance, one of us will come and help you with that. Another thing I'd like to flag, because many of you here are Italian, right? Some aren't, and we love all of our ethnic groups. Our Cortland County Musicians display features a lot of interesting musicians. I know some of you, because you've told me, knew Ronnie James Dio, who we all love. We have Charlie Bertini, we have Danny D'Imperio, we've got Spiegel Wilcox, Tex Rowe, lots of musicians. And we will be adding more. You can listen to their music and see various other things. So please go into the Homeville Museum. I'd also like to draw your attention to coming events, just a couple that I would flag. Our next Homeville Presents is Dick Palmer, who recently published a book on the Stagecoach and Tavern days in Cortland, and that is, I gotta get my, that is May 31st, Saturday, May 31st, if you want to learn about Stagecoach and Tavern days. The Homeville event after that is on June 7th, and it's to commemorate women who have served in all capacities in the military. So we hope you'll join us for that. And there are many others. We have flyers out on the table in the foyer. And before I turn it over to Karen, I do want to share one surprise. As I said, we have new exhibits in Homeville, and we rotate exhibits. We try to add things all the time. And one thing that came to us recently from a man named Tom Kyle, you may know Tom, he's been involved here in the museum, and he's president of Brockway. A couple of weeks ago, and it brought tears to my eyes, he gave us a David Harum bean can. Oh, so it is absolutely beautiful and in great condition. He found it in his parents' home. And Chuck Eaton, our curator, you may know Chuck, who is the son of the late Ken Eaton, who actually started the Homeville collection. Chuck and I talked about maybe doing an exhibit maybe next year on the canning factories that we've had in Cortland, and David Harum was one. So if anybody has any connection to the canning factories, if you work there or know anything about it, please look me up because we haven't been able to find a lot of information, but this is the seed of a beautiful display. And I guard it with my life. It's going in the backpack. Okay, so now let me turn it over to Karen. Many of you know Karen. Karen is a retired professor of social studies education, worked at SUNY Cortland for many years, and was certainly a wonderful colleague there. She has received recognition for excerpts and other essays, including from the William Faulkner, William Wisdom writing competitions, from the National League of American Pen Women writing competitions, and Women on Writing contests. Her first book, of course, was her wonderful book on bean pickers, American Immigrant Portraits, and another book she wrote called Shellback fictionalizes an Italian son, Francis, who enlists in the Navy and gets caught in the Japanese surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. And Karen will be back with us on Saturday, November 15th to do a presentation on that. So without further ado, and I will keep quiet, but I will roll with the mic. If your hand goes up, I'm coming to get you. Okay? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. It's so good to see all of you. How many of you actually picked beans? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. 9. Yeah. Okay. There's 8 of you. Wow. It's. I really miss going to the bean picker reunions. I've been going like 10 years ago. It started. Well, it did start even before that, but it was always so wonderful. The stories that I've heard are just amazing, and I hope that some of you do have picked additional pictures, maybe not in the book, or artifacts, like they can, that I think Jamie could use to put in her exhibit. So you are a breed that is a breed that is in the past, and people now in the community and younger people now don't even know you existed and what you did as a child. And that's how I started. My parents were bean pickers in the Utica area. Okay, so it's a lot of similarities between what they did and what you did. And when I started this 10 years ago, I researched, and there were no books on bean picking. None. So I said, well, there's got to be one. So this is the cover, and the cover, the picture on this is, I believe, the girl sitting down. This is one of the oldest pictures that I have in my family collection. Is the early 1920s, and I believe she was my aunt and my mother's sister, and she died very young in 1929. Do you want the lights on, or?
We can put them off if you like. Turn them down.
Well, what about filming now? Would that, do you want the lights lower? Oh, no one's filming. Okay.
No.
All right.
Okay, how's this?
Yeah.
Much better, because I think they could see it better. Somebody gave me this picture. This is of the Griswold Farms, and you can get an idea of the sacks of beans. They're 100-pound sacks of beans that are being brought to market from the bean fields. So I'm only going to talk for about 10 minutes or so, just to give you some background of as you know, immigration came in waves in the 18th, 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. And from about the Civil War to about 1917, 40 million immigrants came, mainly from Southern and Eastern Europe. And just like in today's world, they wanted to limit, by 1917, the number of immigrants that came. They had quotas, they had literacy tests, and all kinds of ways to limit the number of immigrants coming in. And as a history teacher, I started out in Homer as a history teacher, and when I started this talking about immigration with my group, I would start with the student, like, who are you? Where are you from? Do you know where your family came from? And that defines you, who you are. where you came from. So I would have them fill out as best they could a family tree. And not only just find out what the names of their ancestors were, their grandparents, their mother's mother, also stories. And they came in so excited about stories that I didn't realize that my grandfather got a Purple Heart. You know, and stories like that, you know, we're so busy, Americans are so busy in our lives that we don't have bothered to sit there and tell stories. And that kind of is lost a little bit, because I got a lot of that as a child of a large family. And on one side, I had 23 first cousins, and on the other side, 32 first cousins. So there's a lot of aunts and uncles, great aunts and uncles. And when I was done playing with kids, I'd go sit at the table with the adults. And I would love it when they'd say, "You think you got it bad when we were kids? This is what we did." So I didn't know I had a sense of history, and I remembered their stories. And it wasn't until I was like 19 or 20 years old that I started bringing a tape recorder with me. And I have about 5 of those cassette tapes, very delicate cassette tapes now. And I went back and listened to those stories, and I'm like, I just forgot about some of the remarkable things. And at the time, I didn't think they were so remarkable. But when you think back, your family really was remarkable with what they went through. So my favorite historian, when I grow up, I want to be just like Doris Kearns Goodwin. And she said, "History is the telling of stories about people who lived before us in the hope that we can learn from their struggles and triumphs." And I instinctively did that also as I grew as a teacher. So instead of, you remember those history books, dates and stuff and definitions, and I started bringing out stories. And it wasn't until, kids started understanding the life of a Civil War soldier, or the life of an African American in the middle of the Civil Rights Movement. It's those stories that make history come alive. It's the meat on the bones of history. And that is why I thought these stories have to be preserved, because they're going to be buried with the people that go. So when I taught about immigration, I taught them through push-pull. Okay, what pushed immigrants out of their country in Europe or Asia? What bad thing was going on in their country? Well, in Europe and Italy, especially southern Italy, it was a very feudal society. There was no hope of gaining land, and I think that was the case in Ireland as well. Only the very rich owned land, okay? It was a very mountainous region, so if you did want to do any farming, it was very, very poor soil, very poor farming. It was a very hostile environment for the poor. I mean, landlords, if you complained about your wages, a landlord could just take a gun and just shoot you. And they had that kind of control and power in the 19th century over people. Some people were too poor, like my family, to go to school or even learn a trade. The only work available was farming and sheep herding. My great uncle was a sheep herder at 10 years old. And they put him watching the sheep at midnight at nighttime, and he'd fall asleep all the time. And so they fired him, and the family realized that they're starving, they got to get out. And the government kind of wasn't in favor of the South. They looked kind of down and put all their money in the roads and the schools in the North, okay? And the contadina, which is the peasantry, was kind of left to poor. Now the pull that pulled people to the United States, some people were pulled to Brazil, Argentina, and other places, but what pulled them to the United States? Incidentally, this is an actual photo of my great uncle right here. He lived to be 100 years old, and this is his family. Again, a very old, very, very old picture. Okay, when I talked to my grandmother, I had the tape recorder on. Okay, Grandma, why did you come here? You left 7 brothers and sisters. You never saw them again. So what brought you here? And one word, work. And so there was just no work. So she got married, and she and her husband came over here. And same with my other grandmother. So they wanted a better life, is obviously what they wanted. And America had a lot of industry, factories, unskilled factories, construction. My grandfather worked on the railroad and in the brickyards. And also there was so much land. When they got here, they couldn't believe all the farmland that was here. And in the 1920s, 90% of Americans were in farming, in agriculture. So that's why, not only did we, in this state, we had bean picking, pea picking, but we also had hops, cabbage, potatoes, onions, corn, lots of vegetables. So in interviewing my grandmother, I said, so tell me about your wedding. Tell me about getting married. And she said, oh, well, I got married at the top of the hill in Pignoli, which is 45 minutes from Naples, okay? They had to walk up the hill, and they were shooting guns all along the way. And so when we visited, my husband and I visited, we parked the car in Pignoli, and I looked up, and there was that church. It had to be that very church that she described. And I don't think much has changed. The cobblestone streets, and her dad was he made charcoal. He owned 5 mules. And I could just picture navigating these mules down these brick roads. So when they got to America, this is what they found, this lush farmland. Now this is in Deansboro, this is in central New York, and this is where they hired almost 2,000 Italians for bean picking in central New York. So you could just see how rich the farmland was. Any guesses as to what these little teepee-like things are? It's not cooperating. Any guesses?
Tomato.
Okay, those down here toward the front of the screen. They're hops. And hops were, we stopped growing hops for a couple of decades, and now we're starting up again when New York State said that these microbreweries have to use New York State hops. So that's why you see all these hop farms around now. But my grandmother used to, after the bean picking season, send her kids to school in September, and then she would come back to Deansboro and pick the hops. And they're very sticky. In my research, I found the farmer who employed the bean pickers, and his name was Hinman, and the Hinman farms are still, I think they're in their 5th generation. And this is an old picture of him. Here he's got potatoes, but over to the far, if I hit this, it'll advance it. Oh, here. Over here are the beans. So those are his bean pickers behind him. So just some quick facts that I found in the Utica Observer in 1937. So again, we had about 2,000, and all of the Uticans were shackers. Okay, I know in Cortland, and there's a big difference. A lot of you that pick beans, the truck took you to the fields, but then you went home at night. Okay, in Utica, no, they couldn't go back and forth. They were just too far away. So the farmer built these shacks for them to live in. And they're wooden shacks. Now this is probably cheaper in the 30s than maybe what you picked for. The farmer gave 1 cent per pound for yellow beans and 1.25 cent pound for green beans. How much did you guys get?
The most I ever got in my time was 2 cents.
2 cents.
2 cents a pound. So you picked 100 pounds.
Right. Okay, I heard 3 cents too. Yep.
I
Okay.
never got 3 cents. You were lucky.
Yellow bean.
Yellow beans.
Okay, now I want you to, I did some math for you here. The farmer gave you, on average, 30 cents a bushel, okay, for every bushel that you picked. And they weighed about 28 to 33 pounds. And a family, a very aggressive, enthusiastic family could pick up to 15 bushels a day together, okay? How many did you pick a day usually?
Well, I carried 100-pound sacks on my back, so I picked. I didn't know how many. I didn't count the bushels.
It was hard to count the bushels, yeah.
Picking the bushels.
Right.
And put in this burlap bag.
Okay, and that's what was different in Cortland. They took the beans from the bushel and put them in the sack.
About 3 bushels filled the sack.
Thank you. Okay, so 3 bushels filled the pack. Okay. So if you picked 15 bushels, that's 450 pounds of beans. Okay? Now I'm doing the math for you here. So the most you could make with 15 bushels is $4.50 a day. Okay, that's what the farmer gave you. Then the farmer would turn around and sell that bushel for $1.50. So he gave you 30 cents a bushel, he got $1.50 a bushel. So that's why a lot of these landowners made so much money. Okay, the shacks. My father's sister, she lived to be 100 also, and I was on the phone with her all the time. Even she was a night owl, so we would talk 10, 11 o'clock at night. And okay, so tell me about the shacks. Tell me what it was like. Well, she said, well, I pass by them every Tuesday when I take the bus to Turning Stone. So she goes down Route 5 in Vernon. She said, so I dropped everything. The next day I grabbed my daughter, who's also a history teacher, and I said, Julie, you're going to see your parents' summer home. So this is what we saw when we got out of the car. So this, oops, I keep hitting it wrong. Okay. So this is the front view of it, okay? And this is the side view of it. So Julie is, okay. There are 10 doors here, okay? So each door leads into an area about the size of this area here, okay? On the right side would be hay for the boys to sleep on, and on the left side would be hay for the girls to sleep on. And there'd be a bare light bulb, no refrigeration, okay? So you can't bring anything that needs to be refrigerated. Every day for meals, there's a farm across the street. You'd send your kid with a bucket, and they would go and get milk every day for dinner. There was one, let's see, I'm just showing you how beat up they were. And okay, this is the inside of it. They knocked down the wall so you could see how big it was. And you see some bushels here, and I'm like, I wondered if they used those bushels because they were, pretty old. And this was, any guesses? This was the kitchen. And there was only one stove. So you've got 10 families, and you know how many kids they had. Lots of kids in their families. So when that horn went off at 7 o'clock every day, at the end of the day, 7 to 7, there was a mad rush for people to get to the stove, line up and get a burner, okay? Now, my sister said, I want to see this, So I got in the car to show her. It's been all knocked down. So you don't look for it, it's gone. And I was just really, really happy. And this is the Himman farm that owned this. And I tried contacting them, and they would not answer my call. They wouldn't answer my knock on the door. My Facebook, messaging, nothing. I don't think they wanted to talk to me about this. So, okay, this is where I'm going to ask Jamie to turn this over. In Central New York, for every bushel you picked, you got a ticket, okay? And this is the Himman Farms. And no, you could not cash those tickets in and get your money
Till the end of the year.
until the end of the summer, right? So, you know, God help you if you lost your ticket. So the kids all learned very quickly to give the tickets to their mom. And they probably put it in a can, you know, and then turned it in. And, okay, so how did they pay you guys? I'm going to have.
With the ticket.
Oh, you got tickets? Okay.
With the ticket, every time we read a sack, we got a ticket. We give it to my mother. My mother would wrap it in a handkerchief and pin it. Put it.
Wait.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we got a ticket also.
Oh,
And
okay.
we turned them in at the end of the year.
Okay.
They weren't tickets, they were pieces of paper.
Well, it was a ticket. We called it a ticket.
It wasn't like, it wasn't a form.
Similar to that. It was a piece of paper like a receipt.
It was a piece of paper like a
Like you
receipt.
get from the, when you go to the grocery store.
Okay, so wait, hold on, let her come up. I don't know if she could reach you.
Pick yellow beans, you got a yellow ticket. If you pick green beans, you got a green ticket.
Oh.
You would take all those tickets to the office and they would pay you with a check.
With a check,
Yes.
not cash.
No,
At the end of the season.
Halsted Cannon Company paid us with a check
Okay,
for the amount that we had in tickets.
okay. What kinds of things were done to the sacks of, was there someone else that wanted to say something? Yeah, raise your hand, and Jamie, we really want to, this is really your stories, because there's only 8 of you now, so we got to hear your stories. So, the sacks, how did some people kind of make this, they had to be 100 pounds, right? So what did some people do to try to make the sacks heavier?
Put rocks with big stones in. They put big stones in there to make the sack heavier in the center of the beans, so you wouldn't know.
But when they got up to the scale to weigh the sack, there were guys up there, they would grab 2 on each end, and when they threw it on the scale, it would tick, you know, make a noise. And they knew there were stones in there, opened them up, they got nothing for that sack.
They didn't get paid for that sack or for the day?
The sack.
The sack.
Okay, they wouldn't pay them at all for the sack.
And if you got caught putting stones in your sack, you got fired.
You got what?
You got fired. If you got caught with stones in your sack, you got fired. They would fire you.
Oh, they would fire you,
Yeah,
okay.
some of them they did.
Wow. Okay. One bean picker told me she was too scared to do that, so she never did it.
No, we would put a few leaves in, though, you know, a few plants.
Yeah, every ounce helps, right? Okay, very good. Okay, now here are some wonderful, and I thank the bean pickers, the community, for giving me their pictures of, and these are, notice how young they are. Notice the open back with the slats, and they would be rounding the corner. The truck would round the corner really quickly, and people would be sliding back and forth. What time? Could you just tell us what time they picked you up and
Had to be there by 7.
We got up really early in the morning. And we put pit curls in our hair first. By the way, today's a holiday. It rained. We don't have to pick beans.
That's right. Look forward to that.
We were praying for a rainy day. So
Right.
pardon me, I forgot the question.
What time?
you got up early?
At 7 o'clock we were out on the field at times, and then if it looked a little cloudy, they would wait until 7:30, maybe like that. But the challenging thing was when you got to the bean field, and you have to straddle the rows to pick the beans. The dew,
No way.
All wet.
all wet. Even the shirt tails would be wet, and you would be picking in wet pants, not under, but pants, for until noon, until it dried up. The sun would come out and it would dry up. And there's a special way, you know, there's a picking beans. It's an art. We all know that, to pick beans. So you straddle the row, and then you take your plant and push it toward you, and you pick the beans that are hanging down. Then you bring it to the left, and you pick those beans, then to the right, and then this way, and you pick the ones that are hanging down. And if you didn't pick them all, you would get sent back. And you'd have to pick, but leave the small ones for the next picking.
Okay, right.
And the bus would be there when we got off the truck every morning. Well, the truck luckily was stopped at my house, and the ones from around the block would come and get on the truck. And the way we got on the truck was they would put the gate down. It wasn't easy getting on the truck. And there was a Zalugia.
Yeah.
She was an old Dutch cleanser. She was just a roly-poly, beautiful lady. She couldn't get up by herself. So I would get behind her and boost her up. It was difficult to get on there, you know, in the gates to stick her foot in there. And she had short legs, so I would help her up. And we helped each other. We were one big happy family.
And I hear that a lot, the camaraderie between them. And it was, if you talk to my mom, she would tell you how miserable she was. And her childhood was ruined because of it. But if you talk to my aunt, she would tell you she loved it, she loved the camaraderie, she felt she got to be strong, her character was built stronger, and you know, so it depends on your perspective.
Because there's people here in Cortland that are not, I know a couple are not here today because they're ashamed that they pick beans. And I'm very proud to be a bean picker. It was our way of life. It was our way of life. And it was our privilege to help our parents who were struggling when they got here. And for us, it was an honor to help our parents financially.
And what did you do mainly with the money in the summer?
We bought our school clothes mainly. That's what helped. But my mother would say in the bean field, you know, a lot of the kids, the shackers that lived in the shack, a lot of the kids would wander off in the, especially when it was so hot. They would wander off in the cornfields or in the woods, if there were woods nearby. And their mothers would go, you know, they wanted them to pick because they were there to make money. My mother was a little bit more subdued. She'd say, Susu, Papa, they're going to break out the lock. Your father, Susu, because Daddy's going to buy you a Cadillac, you know. He was a little nicer.
Did you ever get a Cadillac?
No, but we got a Pontiac.
Oh, okay.
I have to tell you that my mother, she got a job, so she let me go by myself. I would go by myself, but she left me in charge of the older women that picked beans. And they were serious about picking, so we couldn't move. We had to, we never got up. We were bent over kissing those plants all day long. And if you saw a couple, excuse me, I have to tell you that my mother, she got a job, so she let me go by myself. I would go by myself, but she left me in charge of the older women that picked beans. And they were serious about picking, so we couldn't move. We had to, we never got up. We were bent over kissing those plants all day long. And if you saw a couple, excuse me, this is the bean pickers. If you saw some people, a couple kids standing like this, and we couldn't even go to the bathroom. You know, you went either in the cornfield or the woods. And we had to go in our row, they wouldn't even let us go in the cornfield or the woods. Wow. They were serious about picking. Yeah. So that was.
Was it you that took in shackers for Sunday meals?
Well, my mom used to. Yeah, we made friends. We made friends for life friends because we were from almost near the same towns in Italy. And they compared notes and everything, you know. And so on Sundays, sometimes we would have Sundays off, or if it rained, my mother would have a couple of families come over to the house. They'd take showers, and we'd feed them, you know. And we sang, and we danced, and, you know, we had a good time. Because no matter how poor Italian people are Italian. This is my heritage, our heritage. They always find time to sing and be happy.
And eat.
And that's the first thing, eat. And we used to pick the beans and then we bring them home and eat them the next day. You know, but we had to hide them. We had to hide them with our jackets and our, you know, in our bushel a little bit. We would take a few home. You know.
They are.
We were entitled to them, but they didn't want us to do it.
Oh, really? Okay. Is Cindy Schleckner here? Hi. Didn't they let you take beans home one time? That's what I got in my book from you, right?
No, my mother used to say the beans used to fall off the truck. And then people would run by the truck and then they'd pick them up off the street.
Yeah.
And then they'd take them home and eat
Yeah,
them.
we weren't allowed to.
My mother said that her money went to her parents to buy coal for the winter.
Same with my family too.
So,
And that's why the older women were just really strict with their family, with their kids, because, you know, if you run out of coal February, you know, you're in bad shape. So it was very important to get that money. Yeah. Sir, did you want to? You had your hand up earlier. Did you want to add to anything? Yeah.
Yeah, in the bean fields, they had inspectors that walked up and down the rows of beans, which they had canes, and they would ruffle the
Leaves.
the plants of the beans to see if you picked all the ones that you were supposed to pick, and if you left some that you didn't pick, they would call you back and tell you that you left these and you had to go back and pick them.
Interesting. Okay. Anybody else have any other thing you want to add to that?
Did you
I want to add,
Did you ever go out with the Shankers?
did I go to the shack?
Did you ever go out with them? A lot of the girls.
Did you ever date any of the Shackers?
A lot of the girls. You dated?
Those are her daughters back there. You dated?
Oh, yes, they did.
That's why we put our hair up in pin curls, so that at night we would take our pin curls down and we'd meet the guys. Not date, not
Just
date,
went
just
out,
friendly.
you know.
We were just friendly.
you're on video right now.
It was just a big happy family. We all But I'll tell you one thing, some of the kids that could get away a little bit, we couldn't because we had guards. They would go in the cornfields or the trees, the woods, and they would play the game Bite the Bean.
Bite the bean. Let's hear what bite the
Now
bean. I've heard about bite the
You
bean.
get a bean, you get a boy and a girl. You get a bean
in your mouth.
and bite.
That's good.
That was a game.
Go ahead, continue.
In the morning when we got off the truck, the row bosses would be there to give us our rows. And they would ask each person or family how many rows of beans you wanted. So I wanted to make a good impression on these elderly ladies that were with me, so they could tell my mother how good I was. And so I would take 2 rows, and that was difficult to keep up because you keep moving, you don't want to get left behind. But sometimes if you got left behind, they would come, other people near you would come and help you pick so you could catch up. I tried 2 rows a lot. I kept up pretty good. And then what was I going to say? So the bosses would do it with their canes, like Nikki said, and then we would wait for the whistle at noon to blow so we could have lunch. But we had to hurry up and have lunch because we still had to pick. So the scale would be set up in the field in front of the big lot, the big fields. But as you picked, you got further and further away from the scale. So the further you got away, the further then you had to carry the sack on your back to go get weighed. And God forbid you drop the sack halfway over there because there was nobody around to help you boost it back on. Because they used to boost. So a couple times I dragged it to the scale because it's so heavy you get tired and you dropped it.
That's when they used to call Luigi. Say Luigi.
When you were a kid, a family asked you to carry the big 100 pounds.
I'd carry it up there, and then I'd come back, and they had half of my rope picked.
You had a good rope.
Then when I was up there, I would buy stuff, I'd get soft drink and things like that. At the end of the year, when I turned in my ticket, I think I owed them money. I had too much of a bill.
Speaking about Bite the Bean, my aunt told me a story that she would always volunteer to get the milk. She said, I got the pail, I'm going to get the milk for dinner. And of course, she would go down, and it was a chance for her to talk to all the boys, because all the boys would be in line getting the milk from the cows. And so I guess her father spotted her with all the boys. And I don't know Italian, so in Italian you would say, do not send Caterina to get the milk anymore. So, I just want to talk. Does anybody know who's in this?
Right here, Sammy.
He is, Sammy.
Oops.
The first guy there is Sammy, right here.
Okay, Sam.
Louis Fiorentini's in there, too.
Over here,
Which one are
Sammy.
you? Another picture.
Over here, down. The first guy.
Right here. Right here? That's you? That's you?
Stand up and look.
You can't see.
Notice it says David Warren Cannon. And,
I got that picture.
yeah. Okay, that's a great picture. This one you might recognize his face, and those of you that lived in Cortland for a long time, that's Fiorentini. Fiorentini Jewelers. Yep. And this one is Danny Cipanelli.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And Dick, his older brother, said that he got fired 4 times. I don't want to pick. I hate picking. I'm not going to pick.
And a mother.
Yes, that's wonderful. Okay, let me move on.
Yes.
I got their names.
This is Juvenile. That's Juvenile.
Giselle.
Teresa Canello.
Right.
That's Angie.
Angie Churchill.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And that's Jenny.
Okay, that's Angie, Churchill, and Camillo.
Jenny Hall.
Jenny Hall. And who's this woman? I couldn't.
That's Teresa Camello.
Okay. Okay. I love this picture because you could see the different generations in here. And, there was, and who's this guy?
I think he's a boss.
Yeah, he's the boss. There was a nickname for him.
Not Peppermint.
Pepper nose. Because he had a nose the size of a pepper. And like he was saying, he would walk around with his cane and he would go in the rows and he'd see what you just picked and he'd flip over the bean plants. And if there was any beans on, he'd call you back. Okay, so he's kind of ran a tight ship. So, and the children, my mom, she picked beans until she was 18 years old. Absolutely hated every bit of it. And, but yeah, and babies in the fields as well. There was no daycare. There was no place to put your child. You brought your kids with you. Okay, and my aunt remembers sitting on a tree stump yelling aqua, aqua. She wanted water, but there wasn't time for water because then you had to wait for the water break.
Water truck. The water truck sometimes would break down. Sometimes they ran out of water. No, but we were happy. And there was no drugs, no fighting, no name calling, everybody was friendly.
It's survival. It's what it is. It's survival. Okay. And who is this lovely lady right here? Notice the pink curls in the hair. Okay. And she must have just dumped her bushel into the sack. Now she's carrying 100 pounds a sack. And this is Joe.
That's the end of the day because I have the bushel.
Right.
Usually you don't bring the bushel with you when you go away.
Right.
Unless it's the end of the day and then you're going out of the field.
Right.
Is that Uncle Pete behind you?
No, that's Peter. No. Peter Testa is sitting over there on that.
No, behind the bushel. Looks like Uncle Pete.
It might be. I can't see it. It might be.
Does anybody know who this is? Someone gave me this picture. It's a little blurry, but I just think it's amazing. You're carrying it on our head. And I love the car. I love the car. So this had to be, early 30s maybe.
Probably Mary Belushi.
No, that is not Mary Belushi. She took the executive.
Okay. I don't know who these people are either. This picture was also given to me. These are Cortland bean pickers. Again, I love the car in the back. And these are Italian bean pickers as well. Do they look like anybody that you know?
They might be shackers.
Okay. Oh, maybe they were shackers. Okay.
They're picking in baskets, not bushels.
But they might have taken the bushel and putting it into the sack. That's sometimes, yeah.
That's not a bushel.
Okay.
That's a basket.
Okay.
I did it at Dale because I couldn't carry a bushel.
Right. Yeah, they were heavy. The Shackerts in Cortland came from Scranton and some from Syracuse. And the shacks were, you know where Tasty Cream is on Johnson Street, where those apartment houses? Yeah, the shacks were there. Also, that old circus house in Homer on Route 11 down here, those were used for shacks.
That was David Harum.
Well.
David Harum.
And David Harum, yes. This again is Churchio and Camillo, these two women. Okay. Notice they have dresses on. A student noticed that. Why are they wearing dresses? Well, women didn't wear slacks back then. We all wore dresses, right? This one just really haunts me. She has no place to go with her baby, so there the baby is between the bean plants. My grandmother said that she used to find a tree to try to put her baby underneath the tree, but and they breastfed, so that's how they would have, the baby got nourished. But they grew up in the summertime, June, July, and August, in the bean fields. Okay, the different jobs that you could get in Cortland County would be first weeding. Any of you weeded the fields? I didn't ever talk to anybody that went through and just pulled the weeds first.
Yes, I did.
You did.
It was still, I think we were still in school, so I only went Saturdays and Sundays for a short time, not too much. But you know what we would do? The weeds, we would pick the weeds, but they were mustard greens, and we would pick them and bring them home and eat mustard greens. So we did two things.
You benefited from that.
I think somebody up there
Also
wants
at the
it.
end of the season.
Did somebody want to speak?
Did someone? Oh yeah.
I was scared to death when they had the German.
Oh, yeah.
They would be on the same field, just with a few rows in between. It was scary.
Were there guards in the
I didn't
fields?
see any guards.
No guards.
There must have been someone.
But they were peaceful people.
Yeah, they
They were
did.
happy to get
Well, this is interesting because we were fighting in World War II. Other Europeans, Italians and Germans. So a lot of us had the same culture. So that kind of was easier than fighting the Japanese, a different culture, But did you want to say something?
Before picking the beans, Halsted Canning Company hired people to come and pick the weeds out of the bin, and you got 35 cents an hour.
We got 10 cents.
10 cents. Pick weeds. Until the beans were ready to be harvested.
All right, we'll talk about wages and how things have changed. So then there's weeding and then picking the crops, and there were two canning places one is in Cortland, the Halstead Canning. It was on Squire Street, and the David Harum Canning was on Cortland Street, and neither building is there right now, right? So they kind of knocked him down and went out of business in 1953. It was the war, really, that kept these beans, these bean companies very busy. There were soldiers that, a Cortland soldier one time reported when he was in Italy, he opened up a can and there it was from Homer.
Yeah, my Uncle Mike.
So, just real quick, the steps into canning the beans, and I'm glad you mentioned the German soldiers, because I talked to Don Kalangi about this. He, at 15 and 16 years old, was put in charge of the German POWs. There were 450,000 POWs that the United States did not know what to do with. They did not want to build prisons, waste the money and build prisons in Europe, and because some of the prisons were already filled up. So they said, why don't we put them to work? So we have an agrarian society here in this country, so they brought 450,000 all across the United States, and especially the Midwest, where there's lots and lots of huge farms. But they were also brought to Cortland, okay? And so I just found it hilarious that they're in the fields with your enemies, in the field with you, picking beans. And I could see why you would be terrified of that. But what happened was a lot of the Germans got to be very close to the families that they worked with and the farms, and the farmers paid them 80 cents a day to do whatever, bale hay, work in the kitchen. It wasn't just field work. But this is what Don told me about, that neither one could understand each other, so it was all done through gesturing. So he had to teach them and train them through gesturing. What they had to do is either to clip the ends of the beans, and they had to be blanched and then put into cans, and the cans had to be put into boxes. So he had, at 15, 16 years old, he was in charge of the POWs. I was like, I couldn't believe my ears when he told me that story. It's all these stories are in my book, incidentally. And I did find the German POWs. Now this happens to be in Nebraska. So here's the shacks that they built for the POWs, okay? And many of them stayed on until 1946, and then they went home. But some of them still communicated with their families back and forth. Yeah, here they are. These are, I had to see for myself the German POWs, and here they are. Okay, let's see.
Can I just say something?
Of course.
It's so interesting to hear someone corroborate what my mom tried to tell my brother. Her name is Susie Petrella. She celebrated her 99th birthday in January.
So you heard a lot of the same stories.
Well, she's forgotten a lot. Yeah. And I don't remember writing a lot of things down. But anyway, she told me that she met one of the German POWs, and his name was Haas. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Well, anyway, she would always, this would come to her mind like the family daddies, even at our birthday celebration we had for her. She was telling my brothers, I have four brothers, her name is Krieger. My brothers, no, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean there's German people? No way. Mom's losing it.
Because it was a secret. The United States kept that a secret. What would you think about if we brought, terrorists here to work on the, that's the same reaction, the fear. So that it was not common knowledge except to local people like you people that had to work with them.
Yeah, so thank you to whatever woman brought that up. But anyway,
Mrs. Fragnoli.
So, thank you for talking to the issue, because I said, no, Mom's not crazy.
Okay. I don't know if anybody knew Inez Wright. She was Sharon Stevens' great aunt, and Sharon found her diary, and this is only part of the diary, but I just found it fascinating. Now this is 1924, way before your time, and I just want you to look to see how much she wrote what she did, but then also wrote how much she earned. So you can figure out how much an hour she got. So like in August 27th, she sorted beans all day until 4:30 and worked 13.5 hours for $2.70. And next day, it was a hot day. She worked from 7 to 5 and then went home for dinner and was back again from 7 to midnight. She earned $2.70. And then August 30th, again, she earned $2.10. And we canned beans for the last hour. We suffered from the heat pretty badly. So here she is in the canning. So we figured it out. It was about 18 cents an hour that she earned. And the hours are really long. September 1st, now this is the end of the summer now. Now they really got to get the end of the beans. So she worked 10 hours, almost till 10 in the night, at nighttime, and earned $2.60. And I love the last one. We were punched in at 7:30 and finished at 5:30. We earned $1.80. Gee, it seemed good not to have to work tonight. I have a rotten cold and was so tired and nervous that I was silly. So, and really, how much, it didn't matter if you were sick or not, you don't think of those things. So, we figured that her earnings were 18 cents an hour, and I thought it would be fun. I looked up what 18 cents could buy you in 1924. So I loved eggs were 12 cents a dozen. So you could work 1 hour for a dozen eggs. So if you want to figure out what it was like, you multiply it times 18. So $1 in 1924 is worth $18 today. So you would multiply that times 18. That's how you could figure out what it would be worth today. So the average salary that Inez made was $400 a year, working 6 days a week. I have a bunch of these, the good old Cortland Standard, which I'm so sad because they probably would be here right now covering this. Every year they would announce the Bean Picket reunion. When did it start? Early 2000s? About?
I had some that go back to 207.
207.
The reunions.
The reunions.
Larry's mother started it.
Oh, did they?
If I have something that states 207 as a reunion, they've had to start real soon. One thing that going through being a bean picker and going through all the information that my husband had before me, what I found very interesting, it was in the year of 2034, there was a riot, which were bean pickers on Main Street. There was 400 of them. They were rioting for an increase in the price of the beans. They were getting 1/2 cents a pound. They were striking, more or less, for more money. And at the time, we had, most people know, Carmen Canastero's dad, Michael Canastero,
Chief of Police,
was working as a police at the time. He became chief of police in Cortland. Everybody here knows the Canasteros. He went down because the other sheriffs didn't understand most of them. And so he did because he was Italian. And he calmed them down. They went back a week after. He told them to go back and he would see what he could do. Anyway, they ended up getting 3 cents a pound.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought that was very interesting to think they, a bunch of them went out and, they had a riot there. It was quite a thing. That was in 2033 and 34, 19.
Okay, 1933, 34. Okay, union activity was very militant. When you're starving, then you get militant. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So started. Thank you. Started in 2002. All right. I had some questions, but again, another call for if you do want any of your family documents or photos, give them to Jamie. She could make copies of them and get them back to you. But she really would love to do a nice exhibit on bean pickers. And these are the people that I'd like to thank. Jamie and Cindy, Karen Pierce. I know a lot of you know who she is. She helped me locate you to get you here. Louis has been instrumental. Louis providing pizzas in an hour. My husband David helped me out so much, and of course the museum board and volunteers. Oh, and that's my biggest fan, my granddaughter. And I left this in. This is Aunt Kay. She was my father's sister, and she was the one who helped me so much in understanding what life was like as well as you people. And I thank all of you so much for all of your help in putting this book together. So we go on to other things, but before, are there any questions for the bee pickers or for me? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the health effects on the bee pickers, whether it was sunburn or feet or backs or what,
I think Joe can answer that. I have your answer in my book. It's incredible.
Yeah, the sun was really hot. I mean, really, really hot. And the field was open, so there was no shade at all. And you were bent over all day long. My back was so sunburned. And then it would blister, and the shirt would tack onto my back. It was painful. But we picked.
Weren't you told to go home and stay home for one day and you didn't?
No, because I would miss out on everything. That was our ball game. That was our field. That was our recreation.
Yeah.
It was a way of life at the time. We didn't question it. We just took everything in stride and had fun. Made a lot of friends. Yes. And it healed. I mean, my back healed.
I don't know if you heard that she got sunburned through her shirt.
And my friends, at the end of the school year, we would go back to school. I mean, the summer, we would go back to school, and my friends would get together and tell what they did during the summer. Oh, I went to camp, and we went swimming, and we went had
holiday?
Exercise. What do I want to say? Did yoga. We got our exercise, and I said, doesn't come to me. Joe, what did you do? I wasn't saying anything. Well, I got the best tan of all of you. The green field is the best place to get a tan. It's wide open. Exercise, up and down. Put your shoulder, sack on your shoulder. That's the best exercise. It was fun.
There's some hands up there. Could you speak loud enough, or do you need? Oh, you can't reach up.
Yes.
Okay.
As a member of the public, I want to express my supreme appreciation for hearing your stories. What wonderful, wonderful history I've heard orally from all you folks. I also want to mention that I'm a picker too, but not a picker of beans. I grew up picking cherries and picking apples, and your stories are so similar to my experience in the fields and then the orchards in my day where you had to go to the bathroom in the woods. You had to wait for the water break. You had to wait for your wages. You wouldn't get them until the end of the season. And you were somewhat abused, folks. But, and let me ask another thing about the German soldiers. We had the German soldiers pruning the orchards where I grew up. And so, actually, they were nice folks. And I wasn't afraid of them, and I was a youngster at the time. But just to say how appreciative are of all the pickers in every agricultural operation.
Thank you. There's a gentleman behind in the back. You had your hand up first.
Where were the fields located here?
On Tompkins, believe it or not, on Tompkins Street, there were bean fields, and also on River,
Right.
Halstead Drive, River Street, where the Cuyahoga River flowed through.
Where the PNC is.
Kellogg Road, right. Okay.
PNC.
All right, another question.
Cornhill Mall.
Oh, we're done?
McLean.
Both sides of the road.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am, yeah.
Okay, John Halstead of the class of '66 here in Cortland is part of our friend group. And he told me, he was born when his parents were older. And Mr. Halstead, the father who owned the canning factory, told John that he had great respect for the Italian workers and how hard-working they were. So it was appreciated.
Thank you.
Very nice, thank you.
Italians always leave a good impression.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And they knew how to eat. They knew how to eat well on what little food. And remember, there's no refrigeration in those shacks, so they didn't have, meats and stuff. So they ate a lot of vegetables and pepper and eggs.
Pepper and eggs.
Yeah, pasta and beans. I have another question up here.
Everybody here, I believe, is Italian that picked. Were there other, because Cortland had problems, had Russians, Italians, were there other ethnic groups?
I would say for Utica, absolutely. Polish, Russian, a lot of Southern Europeans. What would you say? Polish and Russians?
Yes, there were Polish and Russians.
We had Polish from Scranton.
Yes.
What?
Scranton had the Polish people.
Yeah, Scranton, right.
They were the shackers.
Well,
Yeah.
we made them Italian.
Because you know how to eat. My mother would always say, what other food is there? The only good food is Italian food. So, you got another question?
Most of the workers that Halstead hired were from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Right.
There were most of the shackers that lived in the shacks. Three quarters of them or more were from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And Halstead would send their trucks to Scranton, and the people that were going to pick the beans would load all their belongings on these trucks, and then Halstead would bring them and their belongings to the shacks in Cortland.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Because I'll have Jamie to tie things up and what we're going to do next. Yes?
I have something I'd like to do, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You and I talked about it, and about singing something.
Oh.
And I'm inspired to do it only because I'm listening to all of these things, and I'm doing a show in New York, and part of it is about being the daughter of immigrants. And I'm so moved by everything. And I don't usually do this, stand up and volunteer to sing, but I was actually, because it's going to be her birthday in 2 or 3 days. She'll be 93. And so I wanted to sing something, but I'm so moved by these stories, and because as my sister and my brother, we can all tell you, we grew up what these values. And we bring them into the world with us because of everything that everyone here did. Because of my mother's stories about, being friendly with people and having community. It's something we all look for. I miss that in my life. I wish I had what she had and what y'all had growing up, because it's hard to do that today. And would you mind if I sang something?
Would you mind if you sang a song to end everything? I would love it. Are you a Broadway performer?
Oh, well, I live 2 blocks from Broadway, but I've been a singer for most of my life, and because of her and my grandmother, they sang in the fields, and then I started singing outside of the fields in other places. But I live in New York, and I'm doing the show in New York. It's my own show, but part of it is about being an immigrant, and the way that we look at immigration today and immigrants as something so bad. And even the stories about the German people, they're just people. It's not about people, it's about governments. That's what makes us see other people as bad. Because those people, those Germans that were here, I'm sure, they weren't bad people, they were just trying to live, they were trying to survive. So anyway, I feel very strongly about that because I'm old now, and I appreciate so much of how I grew up. This song, my father asked me during the pandemic. He said, my dad used to sing me this song when he was in a good mood, which wasn't very often. He said, would you learn it? And I said, sure. It's a Neapolitan song, and it talks about the Neapolitans leaving and going to a better place, right? Going to a new world, leaving, as you said earlier, leaving their whole families, leaving their friends, leaving their lives, leaving their place they love. It happens to be in Naples, but I know that my mom sailed from there when she came into the port. And it's attached to another little song in English about this woman, Julie Stein, who wrote about, I think she wrote about my mom, but she wrote about her mom. So there are 2 little songs together. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm so happy to share this with you. Partono I bastimenti per terra assai lontana, cantano a bordo so napoletana, cantano vetramente, golfo già scompare, e a luna mezzo mare, nuovo che Napoli svapre. Santa Lucia, lontana te, quanta malinconia. Se gira mondesana, se vai a cercare fortuna, ma quando è spontanea, lontana in Napoli non si può stare. My mother came to America, sailed through that harbor of hope and of dreams. Back in the 30s, when the streets were paved with gold and the sky lit with moonbeams. Fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, here in the new world, we're the lucky ones. All of my yearning, all my hunger, maybe I'm learning. Sometimes I wonder, good night, New York. But before the Beatles, before the Kennedys, before the Vietnam War, back to a time when anything was possible and having less meant knowing more. Uncles and aunts my hunger, maybe I'm learning. Sometimes I wonder, good night, New York. My mother came to America, sailed through that harbor of hope and of dreams. Here in the future, I hope I've not failed her, but nothing is the way that it seems. All of my hunger, all of my yearning, sometimes I wonder, I hope I'm learning. Good night, New York. Se giro un nasale, se vai a cercare fortuna, ma quando sfonda l'ora, ma poi che nave non si può
I think we can continue this in the cafeteria. I will leave you with one sentence. One author once said, every immigrant is a future American.
Yes.
And thanks so much to Karen and to all of you. So, enjoy the refreshments, everybody. Yeah, the cafeteria is to the right. If you go out this door to the right, and the museum is beyond.
That was very nice. That was great.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. What time is it now?
It's 2:30.
Oh, God. They weren't going to bring the pizza until 3:30.
You could move it up. You want to move it up a half hour?
You have a way of talking.
Who's doing the pizzas?
Me. Oh, Pudges.
Oh.
You think if we call Pudges, they could bring them
Earlier? Sure. You want me to call?
Can you do something like that? Yeah. It was in my name, Louis Falso.
Okay.
3 pizzas for 3:30. So if they could do them right away.
Yeah, I'm going to call them right now.
If you can get a manager, see if you can talk to a manager.
Sam Farrell. Yeah.
That was pretty good, huh? Sammy, stick around.
You're making 3 pizzas for Louis Falso to bring to the Homeville Museum. And Louis would like them early. He has it scheduled for 3:30, but he'll take them anytime you can get them
If you can do them right now. If they can start them now.
So, yeah, as soon as you can get up here to the Homeville Museum, you're ready for it. All right, thanks a lot.
You think that they'll get them right
He's going to get them going right now.
Oh, good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Turned out to be real nice.
Oh my God, that was fabulous. You did such a good job helping Karen organize. I don't think it could have been better.
Some of the people who stood up and
Oh yeah, we had to go to
We're gonna go have punch.
yeah, punch and pizza. Oh my God!
You look so familiar. I said, where do I know you from?
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing well, obviously.
Oh, everything is great. Yeah, I got 4 great grandkids.
Okay.
Life is good. How about you?
I'm a little different. So I've got 8 grandkids.
Oh wow!
No greats though, but I live long enough. I hope to. Good. So this is your wife. Oh, you must be really proud of her.
Oh yeah, she's been doing great with it.
Oh, that is good. So nice. So you obviously keep yourself busy doing it?
I do. I'm president of the library at the city.
What's your story?
And I work with the Stanford Historical Society on the New York State Democratic side for Onondaga County.
Oh, okay.
So a little politics, a little library, a little historical, and I still do some consulting.
Oh, do you still? Oh my goodness. So
I'm just holding on to something.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Hi, Louis.
So, how about you? What have you been up to?
Good. So
Yeah, I know.
I'm chairman of the board here.
Oh my God!
And then I'm president of a public health institute here, or chairman of it, of a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit. And then I'm treasurer of the Cortland Library.
Turned out pretty nice, huh?
Real hard time.
Turned out real nice.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. I got very nice.
The only trouble is, the pizza is not supposed to come till 3:30, so we just called them. They're going to start them right now.
You know, we banned.
Well, hopefully people won't leave.
I know, yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck in
Okay. I'm trying to
We're going to be stuck with a lot of pizza. You're not leaving, are you? Yeah.
To me, it seems kind of oppressive. I mean, a lot of people walk around with water bottles these days.
We have people come in with coffee and
So well, good. You've been busy. So I stayed until God came up with cancer care, and I said, it's time to pass the baton. So I retired about almost 6 years ago now. And then within a year, I donated a kidney. I decided I didn't need, you don't need 2 kidneys, So I got, my daughter did her med school out in Mayo, and I got a son, his family's out
It was nice, huh?
Twin Cities. Very good. So I said, I'm kidding.
You're going to stick around, are you?
Yeah, of course.
Shows that. Yeah.
And
I'm on job.
Rochester, Minnesota. And I told him, I said, you folks must be dairy farmers, because they said, who gets up at this time, I said, I don't get my doctors at the operating room at 8 o'clock in the morning, But they had to get it out in time to drive it up to the Twin Cities, to fly it to Cincinnati.
oh my God!
So that afternoon, my kidney was working in something.
I didn't know who.
I'm 93 years old. But in case he's pregnant, so I made him a pepper steak.
There you go. Love it.
You should tell everybody about pizzas. Where is the pizza? Emperor announced the pizza is coming.
You know.
You hear what I said?
Yeah.
Bon appetit.
Tanta grazie. And this was our equivalent of a American peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which we devoured in the middle of the bean field during our lunch hour. And it was packed by either our mother or grandmother, neatly wrapped in wax paper and aluminum foil. generally made with deliciously made homemade Italian bread, or just as deliciously made two-cheese Italian bread. Here is the actual sandwich itself. This was made for me by a fellow bean picker, Josephine Altieri Maranti, at the present time 93 years old. God bless her.